I am honored to have with me today a learner leader that I've physically and virtually danced with over the last 10 years. She is a teacher and creator on the Feminine Erotic Mysteries with more than 15 years experience in the field. Her work is rooted in the practice of neo-tantra, mythosomatics, archetypal dance, and depth inquiry. She guides people to inhabit their bodies, unraveling and awakening to the mystical force within. She transmits a rich opening towards the embrace of deep body wisdoms, creating online courses, retreats, and working in private practice. Supporting women to step into their own unique signature leadership, she is a dedicated practitioner with a learning leader style of teaching. In my eyes, she's a thought leader, yes, but truly she's more than that. She is an embodied leader. And as such, I had to extend an invitation to her to be on the podcast. Shaney Marie, a warm, deep, and lush welcome to White Hot Business.
Thank you for having me. That was quite an introduction.
I always like to add some embellishments. Like it's like, everyone sends their bio through and I like, just want to decorate it a little bit.
Yeah, nice.
It's my Venus in Libra at play. I would like to invite you to cast your mind back to when we first met. And I'm wondering, before I share, do you have a memory of when we first met in person?
I think my memory just goes straight back to being in a dark room with other women, and there being a lot of eros in the field, and you being there, and just like that liminal kind of seductive space that
Yes.
is invoked through feminine embodiment work. I
Yes.
think, yeah, that's where I kind of see you back there.
Yes. Yeah. I have some very beautiful and distinct memories of you. I first met you when I was 10 months postpartum in 2015, and I made a call to go to the Dancing Eros retreat, which was 6 days, 6 nights, I should say, 6 days, 6 nights. And I just remember connecting with you and just like being absolutely mesmerized by your presence and by the way that you moved and the way that you held yourself and the way that you co-facilitated. And it was just, and a very distinct memory of the slut dance by the pool, which won't make sense to anyone listening, but that's all I can say. We did a slut dance by the pool and you were waiting at the end of our slut runway and I danced right up to you and it's like you were there cheering. Like, this new mom going, can I be a slut? Yes, I can be a slut. It was just so beautiful. And I have really warm memories of that time. And since that time, I've watched your evolution. But when I say the word evolution, it doesn't quite feel right. With you, it's always a deepening. And that's something I always admire about you. Just what's it like to hear, the last 10 years, to hear that back, how you've evolved and simultaneously deepened in yourself and your work?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Who was I back then? Who was I and who have I become? It's such a curious journey. I'm so committed to this path of self-actualizing through
Mm-hmm.
the erotic arts. It's something that's really like juicy for me. It's inspiring, it's exciting when I feel aligned to, oh, like where am I growing? Where am I learning? Where am I deepening? Where am I expanding? I feel like I have something to live for. And when I'm not doing those things, and my energy is stagnant, I don't really understand what the point of my life is. So I'm like so like gung-ho committed to
Yes.
self-actualizing and awakening and deepening my ability to like really be with myself and stay with myself and feel myself and listen, like learn how to really listen to the deeper intelligence that lives inside me. So I think that from back then, the time that you described, to now, I think you're right. And then I'm like, Jesus Christ, like, how deep can it go?
How deep
like
can it
it's like,
go?
I'm like, where am I gonna pop out? Like, it's like, yeah, because this like process, I'm so committed to this deepening. Like, where else am I? Where am
Yeah.
I going in here? Like, what is happening? It's kind of terrifying. Kind of terrifying. Um, but yeah, I just I think also the journey of maturing as a woman
Mm.
with a very strong gaze upon yourself in that
Hmm.
process, like really witnessing the process of maturing and all the different initiations you go through. And, the way I connected to my sexuality back then was much more, much more kind of flippant, maybe, or like more kind of maybe a little bit detached in many ways
Mm.
as well, compared to where I'm at now, where everything like is like a medicine journey. That's what it feels like.
Mm.
It's like, oh my God, like I have an experience, like I just had a weekend with another woman, and we popped, it was like I don't know, like a lifetime and a weekend of we traversed all these different layers, and I'm like, and pop out and I'm like, oh my God, that was just like a medicine journey. Like relating has become these spaces where it's like, so there's so much intensity,
Yeah.
beauty, and amazing, but like the kind of quantum leaps that are happening for me and the way that I am meeting people
Yeah.
and journeying with those people or those experiences, whether it's a micro experience or a really big one, I feel there's like this rapid pace that's churning me.
Mm.
Um, and I think that's also coming from having turned towards, like really turning towards my life experience. Whereas,
Mm.
in the past, like the detachment kind of had one foot in, one foot out. Like there was, not as much presence, embodied presence in my experience, because it's taken and it continues to take an ability to expand my capacity to be with myself. And the more I expand my capacity to be with myself, the more time is like becoming richer.
Yes.
And yeah, everything is like, yeah, just intense, I guess.
Yeah.
Like so I'm learning how to be with the pressure and the intensity of my life more as
Yeah.
I mature. Mm.
And do you find as you mature, are you finding that you're getting receiving more enjoyment and pleasure from that?
Absolutely. There's just like an undercurrent of joy always.
Mm.
Like it's amazing. It's just like I might be experiencing grief and pain and frustration or whatever, all these like layers up here, but it's not difficult to drop and just like tap the joy.
Yeah.
It's just bubbling always. And I think that that's really fascinating to me, around like the ways that we identify with our feelings, or the ways that we identify, yeah, with our experiences. So if I identify with my frustration, then I could, if I over identify with it, then I would more likely lose touch
Hmm.
with the baseline that is my joy body.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so so I'm just really presencing often, oh, my joy body is still here. Oh yeah, I'm suffering right now. My heart's in pain, but oh,
Mm.
I can still go to my friend's house and be in hysterical laughter.
Yeah.
This experience recently where I was like journeying some heartbreak, and I went to my friend's house, sitting in this home that has two swings in the living room. I go over there and I'm like a broken bird. I'm like, oh, like, and then we're like swinging on the swing, and I'm like crying and laughing and crying and laughing as I'm like talking her through like my pain, like, and it's like, wow, like this gets to be joyful. This gets to
Yeah.
be like, fully expressed,
Yeah.
and mm, it doesn't have to be the end of the world. It doesn't have to be, yeah, it can be intense, but also there can be play in the
Yeah.
intensity.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm.
How how has all of that experiencing that you just spoke into, how is that influencing your work these days?
Well, I feel more seated in myself. Like I feel okay. with me and who I am. And I think that that also translates to really being able to hold space for other women. So like everything that people bring me, I can meet. Like
Yes. Yeah.
I can sit with them in it. And this is the interesting piece, because I haven't had this happen often, but I had a really bad experience with a client recently.
Mm.
And it's very rare. It
Mm.
really happened to me. And what was interesting, like this person had all sorts of stuff going on. I don't need to go into that, but it was interesting for me in the sense of maintained this availability in myself to be like, so there was abuse coming at me, and I was like, I could just see like the pain of
Mm.
where the abuse was coming from, but I could still see the essence of the person, and how willing I was, like clear with my boundaries, but willing I was to be like, when you're ready, if
Mm.
ever, if not, that's okay. But when there's availability and you want to lean into repair here, I'm here for it. Right. And I think that that's a testament to all the work I've been doing as
Mm.
well, that I'm not reacting and pushing back. I did have to put in a firm boundary by the end of it, but I was really amazed at my own process around like, oh, like I'm available for the changing nature of relating in any type of relationship, be it a client relationship, a lover relationship, family relationship. Like if people are willing to lean in for repair work, I'll go there with you. And and I think that that's really like that's where our humanity needs to be going. Like there's so much like in this kind of cancel culture, or
Yeah.
this,
Yep.
the world of like, oh, just cut them out, or that person fucked you over, or they treated you badly, or they did, and it's like cut, 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 cut. And I think I don't think that that's a really great belief system. I think that
Mm.
maybe we should be pointing our attention more to, I'm available to do repair work here,
Yeah.
if if I have capacity, but or
Yes.
if someone has capacity, but um there's always like growth.
Yeah.
There's always growth in every relationship. If we want to lean in. So going back to like, I'm leaning into my life, I'm leaning into the relationships, I'm leaning into the dissonance, I'm leaning, and I feel like this process is speeding up my own evolutionary kind of awakening, even though it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot to be with. So me being able to be with those parts is allowing me to hold space for others to be with
Yes.
the bigness of their journey as well. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And there's something in what you're saying where I'm hearing when you fully lean back, go all in on your stuff, and it could be long and slow and even arduous at times and deeply testing, it speeds up the precision and the efficacy with which you can hold in your own work. It's like the slow down to speed up. And I was just wondering if that resonated for you.
Yeah, yeah, it does. Yeah, I think that the word precision,
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, when we're leaning in and facing things, there's less kind of convoluted confusion
Yep.
because we're meeting life. And so then when experiences, or when our own intuition kicks off, or I don't know, something's happening, there's more of a precision in what I need
Mm-hmm.
to do,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm present to life. I'm not kind of like over here looking over here and being like, oh, I don't want to do it, and oh, I'm kind of half in, like it's like
Yeah.
creates all this kind of mess. Oh, there's so many options. It's like, oh no, this is where I am.
Yeah.
Okay, and the precision can come from that, from that place. Like, yeah, I guess like the precision can only come from our full meeting of what is,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. You've navigated growing such a beautiful business that has been subjected to what is unjust censorship in the past, especially. The most notable period being when you were locked out of Facebook for a period of weeks or months, even if memory serves. And I was wondering if you could cast your mind back to that period and remember, what did you learn, and what did that time reveal to you about yourself, about the ways that you do business. What did that period shift anything in your business and the way that you do
Yeah.
things?
Yeah, well, I mean, a big part of my success in my business, to really like stand in my business and kind of stand out in some ways, has been through my rebellious spirit.
Yeah.
And that's amazing and it serves a certain part, but there comes a point where my rebellious spirit starts to self-sabotage.
Mm.
Um, and what I've learned from, and I continue to learn from being shadow banned and locked out of Facebook and all of these things, posts taken down, is that mature me has to really learn how to work within the systems that are available.
Mm.
And as frustrating as my rebel self gets about that, the injustices of it, and like recently I had some posts flagged for using words erotic, speaking about vibrators being
Vibrators.
not great. Um, delightful sensuality was a word. Like all of these words were getting flagged, and I've been such a good girl. I've been such a good girl. And and how I'm showing up online. If anyone watches my dance videos, like I never touch my breasts. I always come down the center.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, and other people do videos and they're like, oh, it's very provocative. And I'm like, no, I'm very like crafty with how I'm bringing things forward, so I can still bring these parts of me without it being too overt.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, I have resistance to the wording, having to change wording like sexuality.
Oh.
It's so ugly.
Oh, is there anything less erotic than seeing the word segs, which looks like eggs? Is there anything less erotic? I just see it and go, no, there must be another way.
Oh my God.
We've got to get craftier than that. It's called Get Crafty.
My mind is now going to that story of the eye. It's like one of the original eroticas from like the 1800s or something. Have you ever read it?
No.
It's so twisted. It's the most twisted. It was like this French author, and anyway,
Oh, sorry. Yes, yes, I have. Yes,
and they
yes.
put the eggs. They put the eggs in her pussy.
We want to move beyond that. We want to go deeper than that. But it's inherently frustrating. It is inherently frustrating navigating public forums with anything that references sexuality, sensuality, eroticism. I
Yeah.
feel that.
Yeah. 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 It's frustrating, but I mean, I feel like I've been doing pretty well to stay within, and most of that's coming from like have gratitude as well.
Yeah.
Like this is what the world is. This is what is,
Yeah.
and I'm so grateful. I love Instagram.
Yeah,
I
me too.
love it. Like I just did a course and I was offline for a week, and when I came back online, I was like all the memes and all the things. I was like, God, I love this platform. It's so brilliant. And then, so having like gratitude for these things as
Yeah.
well. Oh, look at I get to run my business on this
Yeah.
free platform.
Yeah.
So incredible. But I just have to be very creative in
Mm.
how I'm doing things now, and I don't really have the energy to keep fighting over it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, it's tiring,
It
and
is.
I feel like I'm ready to start serving bigger now. Like I've been on a bit of a hiatus the last few years, just my own like personal churning and getting clear on relating, um so I feel like I kind of slipped back a
Mm.
bit,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm ready to like really step forward again. Like people have been trying to get me on podcasts for years, and I just kept ghosting, and like I just my
Mm.
system just wasn't at, and I've done 3 in 3 weeks or something now, like so my system feels ready for this kind of next level of my work,
Yeah.
and I have to be aware of my preservation of my energy and what's worth fighting for and what's not.
Yes. Yeah. Selective and discerning. It's This is where I'm with you. I think when I think about the privilege of sitting in my bed with my dogs on my lap and my kids running around and being able to broadcast to the world from my bed and how my ancestors would have loved that opportunity to do something like
Mm,
that. I am with you. I choose the battles with what I say online and know that when we're in private spaces, this is where we can really unleash the
mm,
truth of our work.
mm,
And in many ways, that's a beautiful thing because it keeps that sense of sacredness and sanctity to what it is that we do and transformations what transformations naturally occur when people are in the same room together or even on a private Zoom call together. So
mm.
I'm with
Yeah,
you. Pick and choose the battles. Do what
yeah.
you can with what's available, and um, let everything be seen, heard, and felt in those private spaces,
Mm,
which is
yeah.
where the real work is. That's the real work.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's the other thing, like I would love to have a family. And if I'm just gonna be this like rebel seductress forever, it's like it kind of feels like it's not really the frequency that's gonna call in this like this other part of my life. So I also need to be aware of like what archetypes I'm working with at what point in my life
Yes.
and um how how I am using my energy to really serve like what it is my heart really longs for now for this time in my
Yeah.
life and um what's wasting my energy
Mm-hmm.
for, you know. Mm.
You just mentioned archetypes. Can you share with us what archetypes you are primarily working with at the moment in your
Mm.
work?
Well, I have two feminine archetypes that are my dominant energies that I work with, which is more the seductress. So that I work with, like behind me is Cersei, and she's like the witch seductress who turns her
Beautiful.
rapists into pigs and works with pharmacas and like the herb and as a magic maker, herbal witch, and I I really love her. I love her historically because she has deep roots in like ancient feminine mysteries, um, fertility goddess, this kind of yeah this magnetic woman, but she's more of a sun goddess than a moon goddess. So
Mm,
I have her on my altar, and I've been thinking a lot like, okay, do I need to change my archetypes now? I do work with Lakshmi because I have Venus in the 12th house. So I've been assigned to work with Lakshmi to kind of bring out her, my Venus and Virgo in the 12th house, bring out the qualities that are actually more radiant because
mm.
my Venus is in the graveyard. So, or the asylum or the ashram, like it's in the invisible kind of realms. And
Right.
I have this running joke where I'm like, basically my soulmate's a ghost. So I work with Lakshmi as an abundance kind of energy to kind of bring forth this radiance. But one of the reasons I'm still committed to working with the seductress energy is I want to write this book. I want to write this book about the temptress. And
Ooh, pre-order.
yeah, yeah. And it's like it's here. Like it's so present. It's just a matter of
Yes.
me putting action in. And
Yes.
yeah, and it feels like a really big, important piece of work. And I feel like I need to get it out of me so
Mm,
that I can move on to maybe a more mother goddess energy or something like something to like, yeah, more nurturing perhaps
mm,
of more just different. Not to abandon the other parts, but just so
mm,
because I work so deeply with archetypes, I know how they work me.
mm-hmm.
And anyway, so I want to write this book as a service to humanity because I think that there's just so much misunderstanding around and glorification as well, like glorification, misunderstanding, shaming of female seduction, female temptation.
Oh,
Um,
agreed. Yeah.
yeah, and the ways that it actually serves the process of awakening
Yes.
in so many dimensions.
Yeah.
Um, and also the way it serves us to teach us about pain and our
Mhm.
suffering and the ways in which we, yeah, manipulate, I guess, as
Yeah.
well. So there's all these layers that I wanna take women through, like this kind of evolutionary journey of baby seductress to mature woman to devotion and compassion, this thread. Um, yeah. So those are those are my main archetypes. But there's so many that are integrated. Like last night I did a class on the maiden, a 3-hour class, and that was really deep and beautiful and connecting women to, the slowest parts and their sensitivity
Mm.
and all of these things live inside of me as well. So
Mm.
I mean, I probably need to step more into my like CEO. I was laughing with my friend on the weekend. We were like CEO energy, but but I have a lot of like resistance around the one woman CEO,
Yeah.
energy. Like I really would love a collective of women to
Yeah, I
come to.
can see that for you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's so lonely, just like churning our work out. Um, and it's also something I've had to do for the last while. But
Mm.
yeah, I would love to work in a collective of women.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
And
yeah.
just hearing you say that, can I tell you what's going on in my mind? I'm getting flashbacks to all of the photo shoots that you've done over the years where there was you and women around you. And I was like,
Mm,
yes, like I completely get how you needed to maybe pause some of that sense of collectivity in your work and in your life in order to go deep on yourself. And now you've got more bandwidth to get back to
mm,
that, the power of the collective
mm.
and the power of the collective in your work. I can see that for you.
Yeah, and I think also it's like so many of like my friends, we're all individuated CEOs of our business, and we're
Yeah.
all working in similar fields but totally different flavors.
Yep.
And I would just love for us all to come together. I think it would
Yeah.
just force, but I don't know how to do that yet.
Yeah.
We talk about it sometimes but yeah, I think there'll come a point when we get really serious about it and like, okay, how
Mm.
do we make this like collective, so that we can move together because
Yep.
we're all kind of like fighting for doing God's work, doing God's work
Yeah.
individually.
The goddess's work.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm just wondering, is life keeping you on more of a solo path at the moment to learn? Is there something else? Do you suspect there's something else for you to receive or gain from being a sole operator and maybe accessing more of that CEO energy, like your
Yeah.
solo see her energy? That's what I'm wondering. If it hasn't happened yet, what is there something else for you to learn? I don't know. Do you
Well,
have any thoughts on that?
yeah, there's some completion parts that I'm having to work with. So, I basically like I was working with people. I had like a different assistants come in and work, and it was really testing for me because I would struggle. Like I'd give them a task, and then they'd go and do it, and then it was like easier for me to just go in and correct things than
Mm.
actually give them guidance. So I was learning all these little kind of lessons of like, oh, that's not what you do, Shani. Like you have to take the time to like be with people and train them and
Yeah.
just get overwhelmed. Anyway, that was a few years ago. And yeah, worked with a few different people. And then I just decided when I went off Mighty Networks, which was an absolute disaster, it's been a very expensive, disastrous transition into Kajabi, which I'm not very happy about. Um, when I moved, I also decided to dismantle my business and really get to know it from the ground up.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of outsourcing these roles onto people, I was like, I need to get really intimate with what it is that I'm doing here. And so that's what I've been doing. Like I
Mm.
have all the women that I work with, they're all in spreadsheets now that I'm manually putting together, and I'm like really taking notes, and um I'm at the moment I'm doing all these like free 20-minute calls to get to know my audience because I feel so distant from my audience through just social media platforms. And whereas because Mighty Networks was a really great community hub. It was like, oh, everyone was kind of in this one place, but there was these other things missing from that platform, which is why I moved to Kajabi.
Yeah.
But Kajabi has a terrible community section. Like I just cannot find a vibe. So then everything's dismantled into Telegram and this and that. I'm ADHD. Like I could multitask, but that kind of multitasking
Yeah.
is like, it's
Yeah.
just, I'm not great at it. So my current issue right now is how to bring my community together,
Mm.
um, and activate it, because I'm not innately a community person. I'm not innately a networker. So I need these platforms to really support me to make
Mm.
that process easy.
Mm.
And I'm hitting some massive brick walls with what's available. Um, anyway, how did I get onto this? So I feel like I'm having to meet all of these parts of my business, and it's taking longer than I would like, but it's allowing me to get really clear on what I want my business to feel like,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
There's
And
lots
everything's a
of,
mess because
yeah.
I'll just finish this last little bit.
Yeah.
Everything's a mess because I also had my website stolen and turned into a porn site. So, you know, my systems are just like quite chaotic at the moment. So I'm on this solo path to like
Yeah.
clean all of this up, get really clear, and then I feel like I can kind of do a relaunch, uh,
Yes.
with a clearer vision of what I'm in service to as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't realize you had your website stolen. How did you energetically navigate through that one?
Well, I mean, I'm just like, whatever. That's the point I'm at. Like, people were like, oh, you need to get your name back. Like, that's, bad associations for you. And I'm like, cool. And I don't have the capacity or the energy to be like trying to work out how to do that
Mm.
legally or, so the way I'm navigating it is I've just brought a different domain for now, and I'm just
Yep.
hoping that whoever I don't know if this person's like someone that hates me, because I'm not like a massive big gun or anything that would make me a target, like I'm just this kind of little person over here on the internet, just like flailing around. Um, so I don't understand why they
Mm.
they chose me to do that. And it's like 3 years in as well. It's like they're paying for that. Like, I don't get it. Anyway.
It
Mm.
almost feels like everything's being stirred up for you, questioned, brought up into closer examination so that you can reset some of the foundational pieces of your business and really forge the legacy for yourself. Like everything's being, what systems am I using? And I'm bringing this up because I want to normalize this for anyone listening that feels like, why isn't this working? Why is this person not working with me? Why isn't it working when I've got this VA? Things like this come up in business so that you can really question and examine, A, how well is it working? And B, is this coming with you into the next chapter?
Mm.
Because if you want expansion, my when I use the word expansion, what I mean for myself and those I work with is depth. If you want to expand or if you want to go deeper, you need to be held, which is exactly what you're speaking into right now, especially where you don't have a natural inclination for something or for an aspect of business. If that's true, like if you want to be in communities and hold one, but not do all of the heavy lifting, that means that you need a heavier lifting system or structure to hold that.
Mm.
So what I'm sensing is you've just had everything come up for question. Is this working? How well is this holding you? How well is this holding your clients? And now you get to make really empowered decisions about what's coming with you, what's being left behind, because you've got this sense that the bigness is coming.
Totally. Yeah, I can feel it. Yeah, yeah. There's so many things, and I think that also if you don't have those foundations, because I'm a person that kind of does trigger people. on a small capacity,
Yeah.
I can feel that if I don't have my systems in place, if I grow bigger, this is a part of my like limitation. I don't want to grow bigger, well,
Yeah.
currently, because I know that bombs will start coming for me,
Yeah.
and I won't be able to handle it. Like the website being stolen turned into a porn site, like that's a type of bomb, right? Like
Yeah,
someone's just
that
like,
is that's a major bomb.
yeah, yeah. And it's like things are gonna happen the more out I am.
Mm.
And I want to feel held and protected
Yeah.
in that process. And so I can feel the part of me that's just like, not yet, not yet, not yet, you know, just keep churning a bit, keep learning. And it's not only in business that these questions have
Yeah.
been showing up. And you know, I did like 12 years of 3 back-to-back relationships with literally no space in between each relationship.
Mm.
And you know, I was choosing these relationships with this like undercurrent of anxiety about who am I going to have a baby with.
Mm.
And then I came out of my last one, which was massive. And I was like, finally, I need to be with myself. I need to sit with myself. And and I've really kind of started to move out of this like nervous system pattern of like choosing things from my anxious self. But in that process, I also my sexuality expanded, like what it had always been, but because my anxiety was choosing relationships because of baby, baby, baby. And um so then I started dating women. You know, and so then I started to question like, oh, maybe am I going to marry a man or a woman? Like what am I gonna it's just like, and I was like, oh my God, I've got more options. Like this, like the options just keep expanding. Like
Yes.
what what like is going on? So it's, you know, so here I am in my narratives being like, simplify, Shaney, get steady, simplify. And then my life is just like expanding in these places where I'm like,
Diversified. It's diversified
it's just
the
like,
options.
I'm like in a candy store, you know, I've just got like, like so many options. And they're also different, such different flavors. And anyway, you know, so questioning relationship, sexuality, marriage, children, like what am I going to do if I don't have a child? Oh, okay, I'll just like commit to the path of the bodhisattva. Like, you know, I'm gonna like, creating these like backup plans of like, I'm just going to go hard in Buddhism. Like, you know, all my coping strategies to be like, all right, where's life taking me? You know, now I'm living from the mystery. Like, I can only see one step ahead. Like,
Yeah.
where's life going? Yeah. Mm.
I would love to know. I love your laugh, by the way. You've got such a beautiful laugh. And I was going to ask you, just a lot of the work that I do is around activating women to be in their power and pleasure, namely through their throat and sacral center and the symbiotic nature of those two centers in a woman's body. And I'm wondering what changes you've seen in your clients when you witness an activation of those centers in a woman, the sacral and the throat,
Yeah.
just
Big
what your take is on them.
Mm, big question. Gosh. Hmm. Well, I mean, they're absolutely intrinsically connected. A lot of
Mm.
women that come to work with me also have fears of public speaking,
Ah,
fears of using their voice because it's perfect because I had that. You know, I used
yeah.
to I used to force myself into running events and then I'd be like on the couch crying for 2 days because I was so ashamed of things I said and like, you know, I'd just be a collapsed mess because using my voice was such a deep insecurity. So,
Yeah.
you know, I was the person in my learning years, like always learning years, but like, you know, when I was doing my early trainings, I would be in a group and I couldn't ask a question. You know,
Ah.
it's just like my heart would be beating, I'd be in terror. And if I tried and I spoke, I would just be so disassociated and like sweaty. And, you know, so I've had this massive journey with my voice.
Hmm.
Um, and so yeah, people come to me, they mirror that. You know how your clients mirror you?
Yes. I mean, no, I have no idea what you're talking Yes,
Yeah.
of course. Yes, of course, they mirror you.
Mm,
They're in an experiencing that's an experiencing that you've had. I mean, the timeline,
mm,
could be anything. It could be you X amount of years ago, you a few months ago, but yes,
yeah.
there's always a mirror
Mm,
there.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and then I think with, the pelvic bowl, the womb, all the womb mysteries work that I've done, I think, I mean, that was the place that was already quite naturally activated for me, quite
Mm,
young.
mhm.
And I think also being a stripper, there was a lot of churning of the hips, and I was the kind of stripper that I stayed in my pleasure
Yeah.
in the work. Like I wasn't really not in it. Like there was always an activation inside my pelvis.
Mm,
And even as a tantrika, like doing body work, I'll stimulate my pelvic floor just to get energy moving
yeah.
in the field because it shifts the field, how connected I am to my body and my pelvis. Um, so was what the question? How do I see this kind
Well,
of
actually, I
changing?
would love to know now, how did your throat evolve over the years? Because you are so beautifully expressed, whether you're speaking or the incredible, mind-blowing written words that I see and experience from you. They're deeply poetic, they're really moving, they're truth-telling, they move people, visibly move people. I'm just wondering, how did you start to feel more comfortable at ease within your own throat?
By putting myself in it.
Yeah. Okay,
It's like,
everyone, there is
yeah,
the answer. You have to put
yeah.
yourself in it. There is no easy way
No,
around
like
this one.
there's no shortcut with
Yeah.
this. Like I think that being practiced at being in my body and seated in my power and my eros definitely gave me like a advantage,
Yeah, agreed.
right?
Yes,
Because it's like a
yes.
rocket fuel. So there's this
Yeah.
like passion. Um, but it's been a lot of hard work, to be honest. Like
Mm,
like from the early days of putting myself out on Facebook, where I would just practice sharing, which was terrifying. When I watch back to some of my videos in my early 20s, I'm like, whoa, who is that girl? She's so scared and and so like trying scripted and like
yes.
contrived and
Yeah.
like it's just like this this whole
Oh,
persona.
little Shaney.
Um yeah, sweetness. And I had to be that awkward person. I had to keep showing up. And my writing, like I look back on my writing and it's like so superficial and so
Mm,
lacking in depth. And I used to have this like thing where I was like I feared that I wasn't deep. I
mm,
remember I remember having that process in group, um, you know, group calls and things like, oh, this like insecurity that I'm not deep, but it was that I just didn't know how to put words to my depth, to
yeah.
everything I felt. And so I had to practice and churn and be disliked online and say really stupid things and be a troll, even being a troll online, which is still something I'm like, I'm trying to reel it in. I'm really trying to reel it in because I can just get so trolly in the online space. Oh, and,
Your
but
troll archetype.
even that part of me has helped sharpen
Yes.
my
Yes.
consciousness.
Mm,
And then sometimes I think, oh my God, like do I need to like go through my entire history online and start to like delete things because because is this gonna backfire on me because some of the things that I've said anyway. But it's all been a part of the practice. And like I said, I used to like force myself to run events.
mm,
Not force in the sense of complete overriding, but there definitely was some overriding in my slower parts that I've had to come back and tend to for sure. Um, but I always had this like greater vision of commitment to where I wanted to get to, which was I've always wanted to feel relaxed in how I share and how I be and who I am, and really like love myself in this. And I've always felt how had this like real deep service piece that I think I just came in with, where I'm like, oh, it's really important to me that the world, that I participate in changing something, not
Mm.
changing the world. It's not, that's not what I mean, but changing something, like changing consciousness to some degree
Yeah.
through my presence. And to do that, I really need to be this woman
Mm.
who can share her truth,
Yeah.
is willing to be disliked for it,
Mm-hmm.
um, and who's willing to learn how to vocalize and write better, which
Yeah.
that's been the path.
Yeah.
Um, and there's no shortcut.
Mm. No
You have to
shortcut.
go through it. You
Yeah.
have to go through the fire of it and
Yeah.
uncomfortable, get real uncomfortable.
Deeply uncomfortable. And I want to highlight something that you referenced earlier, which was around like releasing the perfection around it. It's not going to be perfect. You're not going to generate perfect things. It's really is this practice that you keep generating and being willing. Might not want to. It's the big consent question, isn't it? You might not want to, but are you willing? Are you willing to experiment? Are you willing to put your voice out there? Are you willing to put your voice out there imperfectly and to start crafting more of your truth through those learning experiences? Because it's until you put it out there, you can't, there's something different about writing something down that only you see and writing something down where you're not sure it's how it's going to be received out there. There's a deeper learning in that.
Totally. And sometimes like I'll post something and I'm so surprised at how people respond versus some of the things that I'm like, this one's gonna land, this one's amazing. And then there's like, it's crickets. And then I put something else, and I'm like, oh my God, I almost didn't share that one because it was so lame. Like,
Oh my God, I totally know what you're talking about. So I'm just shocked. I'm like, how many profile views from that thing about that little thing that very little human thing I shared? I'm like, whoa, when I look at the analytics, it's incredible, isn't it? That you can see people's behaviors and responses, their public responses and their private actions. When you look behind the scenes, it just astounds me still what people like
I
and
don't
what
get
draws
it.
them in. Yeah.
I
And
just
you
don't get it. And you're probably more like, and look at the analytics. I don't even look at that stuff because I'm so confused by the online spam. Just like, I'm just gonna keep bringing it, just keep bringing it, see what hits, and then does it convert to sales? Is basically my
yeah,
measure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But it would do me some good to start to study more of like, okay, what angles were landing more, and it feels so overwhelming to even start to unpack all of that.
Yeah, understood. Yeah, that one's a practice as well. That's just something that I've integrated. Especially, well, I think what I see in your work is I see the public responses. Mine's a bit more people don't necessarily respond publicly, so I need to look at because they are inhibited around all of this. And so I'm looking at what they do privately to see what's landing from that angle. If it's something where they don't feel they might not feel comfortable publicly liking, publicly commenting, I'm getting my words mixed up. I do like the analytics for just seeing what I can from people's behavior behind closed doors. I like having a peek back there.
Yeah, nice.
But I just love what you said about your throat and the fact that it is a muscle that you have to just keep expanding through speaking, through writing, through speaking, through writing, through speaking, through writing, speaking, through writing, through sound as well. We haven't even mentioned sound in today's episode, but sound is another portal.
Yeah, I've been on a real big journey recently of like connecting more to my sound, been doing singing lessons and things that, I always
Oh,
as a kid wanted to
fabulous.
do.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for me, like not for anyone else, but
Yeah.
like, it's because I have this insecurity around my voice. I really have to, and I think this is what happens as well when we have an insecurity about something. We work really hard if we have will, we work really hard to correct it,
Yeah.
and then we become very skilled in that
Yeah.
area. When people say,
Exactly.
oh, I love the way you talk and you're so eloquent and you have these words, I'm like, I don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Like, I've got friends that just have this amazing vocabulary, and I'm like so in envy of them. And then people say that to me, I'm like, really? Like, I feel
You do. You're deeply poetic. You really are a wordsmith. You've got a beautiful way of expressing yourself. And that's something I want to compliment you on. I've witnessed the evolution of that over the last 10 years as well. It's absolutely beautiful. Like, you really just strike this chord. And or my birth chart, or my, Myers-Briggs, all of that, it's all very much everything has to be deep and intense. And I'm scrolling through Facebook and there's horrible ads, and then I see your words and I'm like, ah. It's seriously like sinking into a spa or a jacuzzi or something. It's like, yes, home, like home.
codes. I'm in the codes.
So lush, so needed, so needed. And look, I have so much more I could ask you, but I'm mindful of time and energy, and I would love to know, well, before we wrap it up, is there anything that you would like women who have their own business to know about their most sensual selves, their most erotic selves, their most seductive selves, the temptress part of them? Is there anything that you want them to know about how that can be integrated when you have a business?
Well, these like feminine mysteries that I teach on is all about really like the feminine to me is the electromagnetic current of life. And so when we connect to our bodies and we generate energy in our bodies, the electromagnetic current activates, and this is how we become magnetic. So I think as feminine business leaders, if you don't have a commitment to somatic work, and not only somatic work, but like sex, like sexuality and womb codes, right? If you're scared of those parts, then you're going to be operating your business from a very kind of push, mask, old world
Yes.
place.
Yes.
And what I would love to see, because I would love to see the feminine represented more in these places that have been more traditionally masculine, I would love to see more women acknowledging that this is essential, that having a connection to my soma, having a connection to my inner world, having a connection to my pelvic bowl, my heart, all of this creates a field of energy around us, and then we become transmissions of our essence, right? So like, if you're not already committed to that work, start now. If you feel that you're scared because it's like, ooh, like sexuality, edgy, like, or taboo, or, you have these like beliefs in all the stories that people have. I think it's doing a great disservice to you as a feminine or a female leader.
Yeah.
And also it's doing a great disservice to the world and future generations. And we want to get healthy in these places. We want to get healthy in our sexuality and our heart portals. There's so much disconnect from sex and heart. And it's creating a lot of distortion in the creative field, where people are, just like sexual liberation, kind of overdrive and disconnected from sensitivity and all of these. There's so many like things that are distorting in the field that I think could be just really corrected if we just got some more alignment in these places in our bodies. So that's my wish for any woman listening, to be like, okay, I'm going to prioritize my learning
Yeah.
with these parts of how feminine sexuality is most nourished
Mm.
and most activated. And it's not about vibrators.
Yes.
You know,
Yes. Yes.
it's not about this hypersexual, explosive relationship to, you know, masturbating every day to a point of peak. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about very subtle, deep connection to the aliveness of Eros inside of us, and allowing that to fill us and pulse through us, and then open open our bodies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Open our bodies. And when we're open and our bodies are open, our business can open in new and exhilarating ways as well. They are symbiotic.
Yeah. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you deeply for your presence, Shaney. I'm just wondering, where can listeners find you online?
Well, obviously I don't have a website. So you can find me on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. I am working at getting a new website up.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on WhatsApp. You can find me, yeah, you could, I think just reaching out through, like, making your presence known to me is really beautiful.
Yes. Yeah. It's really
Sending me a
powerful.
message. Mm.
Yeah. Send Shaney a message on Instagram and let her know what landed from today's episode and maybe even what you're going to pledge to explore within yourself from listening today, because that accountability piece is everything, and it will change how you experience your body, your eros, your throat energy, all of it. So reach out to Shaney, say hi.
Yeah.
Deep bows, thank you so much for being here today, and I've deeply enjoyed our time together. Didn't get through all the questions, but I trust this was such a rich conversation, and there's always more with you, Shaney. So thank you again.
I really enjoyed this. Thank you.